So, Mr. Serkis, you've been involved with performance capture for 15 years now, and you've gotten to see the technology evolve. What are some of your favorite advancements in this technology?
Well, I mean, really, the huge leaps have been from, as I was explaining earlier, going from just pure motion capture to performance capture, and that really is through. One of the big changes, one of the significant changes was facial capture, because that then allows the actor to completely internally portray that part without. I mean, for instance, I'll give you an example. If we were shooting this in the way that the original Apes series was made, you would be covering our faces with latex or foam, and in actual fact, when you look at documentaries about the making of those movies, the actors had to really struggle to manipulate their faces to push the makeup around, you know. This you don't have to do anything like that. You're just concentrating on internalizing the character and becoming that character without having to fake anything. You're just playing the real internal emotions. So that the ability to do that and have that truthfully, recorded, and then the technology and the software and the artistry and the understanding of how to take those performances and map those onto the faces of the designed apes and the apes' physiognomy. That's been one of the hugest and most important changes.
So, obviously, you were an actor prior to this technology being introduced, but mostly, as of late, you've been taking a lot of roles that involve this technology, except for Avengers Age of Ultron, where you appear, as yourself mostly. So now, do you think you're at a point where you're more comfortable while using performance capture than acting regularly?
No, not at all. I mean, I don't really think of them as any different at all. It's acting, So either way, and I plan to do more theatre, and actually at the moment I'm doing more directing. But in terms of acting, no, it's not that you get comfortable, because I've never drawn a distinction between the two, and you're not acting in a different way because you're wearing a motion capture suit or a performance capture suit. You're still embodying the character physically, emotionally, psychologically, and playing that role. So it really, as you can see from those side by sides and the footage that we've shown, the actual performance itself doesn't change from what the original source performance is to the actual final rendered performance in terms of what the actor's doing.
So one of the most interesting things that you were saying at your panel was how you created the voice of Gollum by being inspired by your cat. And I was wondering how you got the voices of other characters like Supreme Leader Snoke or Caesar or any of the other characters that you've been.
Well, you work on them. I mean, Caesar's had an evolving vocal journey, really, because in the first one, he as Scott was saying in the panel earlier, he could only use single words. Really, up until that point, he'd been taught to sign language and communicate using sign language. Then in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, he was able to begin to string slightly more complex sentences, but still it was through a combination of ape vocalization, sign language, and some words which were. I used to wear a mouth guard actually, so that I couldn't fully articulate the sentences. So there was something to push against, so that there was still a sense of him finding language. But then in this one, for instance, in War, he's much more articulate, and so all that went away, and now Caesar is able to now speak much more in more elongated sentences and more like a human being.
Finally, what are you most excited for the audience to see Caesar go through in this third film?
I mean, Caesar goes through a phenomenal journey into darkness, and a very emotionally intense. It's an emotionally intense journey, and I just think the scenes with Woody Harrelson, I think those are very, very. They're kind of explosive scenes and very powerful scenes, and I'm looking forward to the audience seeing those.
Awesome. Well, Mr. Serkis, thank you very much.